Lawmakers passed a bill late Saturday that would change regulations on property tax debt sales. The key change is if a homeowner fails to pay their debt in an initial redemption period and their property is seized and sold, they will receive any surplus funds left over from the auction. This passed the House 80-35 along party lines. It passed the Senate 56-1 with one person abstaining to vote. Now, if signed by the governor, this would put Illinois in compliance with a 2023 Supreme Court decision. Illinois would actually be the last state to do so.